I have been a moonshiner ever since that I've been born. I've drunk up all of my money and stealed up all of my corn. I'll go up some dark hollow and put up my moonshine still. See, I'll make you 1 gallon for a $5 bill. I'll go up some dark hollow and get you some booze. See if the revenues don't get me no money, will I lose?
Welcome to Appalachian Haunts and Hates. We went to the battlefield to talk about Old Green Eyes and the Lady in White. And on our way, we found a fantastic restaurant. You want to talk about the restaurant?
Again? Yeah, we were just driving and trying to, of course, pass up all of the chains and all of the, the fast food restaurants. And I literally just was like, okay, whatever we get. And I Googled restaurants near me, and Beach Restaurant was right there. I was thinking, okay, well, that's only about 2 miles off the road. So we drove into it was pretty dank. It was dank.
It was a rough neighborhood.
It was, but we pulled into the parking lot, and behold, there were about 15 older gentlemen over 65. You can always tell that when food is good, if there are older gentlemen that are over 65 eating there. They know a lot more than we do. So,
this is true.
I was like, okay, we have found the place, and got out and went in, and here's all these round tables. I was thinking, okay, we need instructions. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And of course, we paid, and the lady comes up and she goes, first time here? I'm thinking, is it show? So
Probably the puzzled looks on her face.
I'm certain. Well, it says all you can eat buffet. Well, you go to a table. They have all these round tables, and we sat down. There was tea and there was water. And she said, do you want something besides the tea and the water? And I was like, okay, can I get some unsweet tea? Yeah, okay. So she brings another pitcher out and just sets it on the table. So we have sweet tea, water, unsweet tea, and I'm guessing anything else we wanted. And then she just starts bringing out food. And she brings out a big plate of fried chicken, a big plate of potato salad. And I'm not a big fan of potato salad because I like a lot of onions, but it was perfect. It was perfect. Always can use some more onions, but it was perfect. Gosh, there was rolls and beans and cornbread and greens and everything that you could imagine. Fried okra, and she just brought it all out. I'm watching other people because I need instructions still. And they're just swinging their tables around, and they're just getting big scoops and putting it in their table. The lady comes up and she says, do you guys need any more of anything else? And I was like, so this is an all-you-can-eat buffet. Just cook the order. It's completely badass. I loved it. I love that concept.
It's been around since 1950.
Yeah.
And a very well-kept secret in a restaurant in Chattanooga.
Sure. For sure. Yeah, that was Bees. Go try it. We've got a picture of it, BEA''S, and then we took a nice snapshot that we'll show at the end, and was everything that was there. Oh, it was awesome.
Yes, Bees was delicious, and I actually, can't wait to go back. So we went to Chattanooga National Battlefield, and we talked about on film, on location. We talked about the Green Eyes. We talked about the Lady in White. We talked about the different sounds and things that people hear certain times of the year and certain times of the day and night. But, on this in studio, we want to just kind of we want to talk about the restaurant. We want to give a synopsis of the battle so people can understand what went on there. So, the Battle of Chickamauga occurred in September of 1863, between 18th and the 20th. It was one of the bloodiest engagements of the Western theater of the Civil War and the biggest battle in Georgia. There were 125,000 combatants. 125,000 people fought in that area. And there were 35,000 casualties. 35,000 people died from that battle. So, on the 18th of September, there were several Confederate attempts to seize crossing points on the Chickamauga Creek. The Union cavalry did the job they were supposed to do and delayed them. And it forced but eventually the Confederates seized the bridge and advanced toward Lee Gordon's mill. The Union fought a successful delaying tactic at Alexander's Bridge, but the Confederates got across the creek and ended up at the Union's left flank. So, on the next day, General Rosecrans of the Federal Army believed that Bragg might try to put his army between the Union soldiers and Chattanooga, because the ultimate goal for Rosecrans was Chattanooga. So Rosecrans had General Thomas extend his lines north from Lee and Gordon's mill to the area of the Kelly Farm. And if you look at the map, or if you go there, you know where these areas are that I'm talking about. They attempted to destroy what they thought was a small force of Confederates. It ended up being Confederate cavalry, and they ended up, instead of just attacking an isolated force, they fought all day and spread southward. The battle was miles long. So, on the last day, General Bragg, Rosecrans and Bragg, we talked about them in the Stones River episode. So they fought against each other a couple times. He divided his army into a right wing and a left wing, and he planned to attack at dawn on the right side and continue southward, driving the Union troops away from Chattanooga. But the attack began late, and by the time they attacked, the Union army was expecting them, and they drove the Confederates back. But the Confederates fought back, engulfed the center and right wings of the Union army, and forced them to retreat northward, which was not what Bragg wanted to do. So they retreated northward, and while this battle was considered a victory for the Confederates, it drove the Federals back to Chattanooga, and Rosecrans used this opportunity to capture Chattanooga for the Union. So, while the battle was a success, Rosecrans still got what he wanted. Even though this battle was considered a victory for the Confederates, it did drive the Federals back to Chattanooga, which is what Rosecrans wanted anyway, and used that opportunity to capture Chattanooga for the Union. So, these battles in the Civil War were so intense that it took months for burial details to return to battlefields. Bodies, especially in this one, when 35,000 people died. Bodies were decayed in the open air. Soldiers were buried where they lay. The battlefield is filled with unmarked graves. There's trenches where 3 or 4 men are laid side by side. There's pits where they interred many corpses together at the same time in the same place. Sometimes when they're doing some work, when maintenance workers are doing work, they'll occasionally uncover human bones because the bodies were buried so shallow. So that's it. That's our story about Chickamauga. That's a story about Bee's Restaurant. On location, we talked about Old Green Eyes, and we talked about the Lady in White, which you'll hear in just a few seconds. You got anything else?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. All right, well, hope you enjoy the rest of the show, and we'll see you in the next episode. Welcome to Appalachian Haunts and Haints. I'm Michael.
I'm Missy.
And she's Missy. Behind the camera.
Of course.
Of course. So here we are at the Chickamauga battlefield in Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia. Behind me, Wilder Tower. This battlefield is haunted, or they say it is. There have been sightings all over the battlefield, not just at Wilder Tower. People have seen apparitions like Old Green Eyes. If you've if you know anything about paranormal or Chattanooga, or the battlefield, you've heard of Old Green Eyes. He's the most popular. It is the most popular apparition of Chattanooga, of the area. There's also the Lady in White. People have seen a skeleton on horseback. That they claim is a former Confederate soldier. Strange things have even happened at Wilder Tower. People have committed suicide here. People have jumped from the tower in attempts. One man in the, I believe in the 70s, jumped from the tower thinking that he was jumping from the first floor, allegedly, and he was paralyzed for the rest of his life. People as late as 2004 have jumped from this tower in attempts to commit suicide. Apparitions have been seen throughout the battlefield.
Inside the tower that we are not going up. It looks positively terrifying.
Here we are at Snodgrass Field, Snodgrass Hill. The behind us is the Snodgrass House. At this location, on the field behind me, some of the bloodiest fighting of the war happened. Of the battle happened right here. Thousands of Federals and Confederates died on this field. And that's the reason I wanted to do this right here. One of the bloodiest. Imagine bodies strewn, thousands of bodies strewn all over this field. In September 20th, 1863. And that's when the Confederates busted through the Union lines and sent the Union soldiers into retreat to Chattanooga. It took months. There was so much fighting. The Civil War was so intense. It took months for the dead and dying to get treated and buried. There were so many bodies that soldiers were buried where they lay, in some cases. There are thousands and thousands of unmarked graves on this battlefield. The cannons. Look at that dude illegally climbing on the cannon. Are you recording?
No.
Oh.
Yes, I am. Okay.
Their bodies decayed in the open air. Soldiers were buried where they lay. The battlefield is filled with unmarked graves. Some are trenches where three or four men were laid side by side. Others are pits where many corpses were interred together. And thousands of single burials. Sometimes maintenance workers even uncover human bones when they're working in the fields. So, let's talk about ghosts. Let's talk about the paranormal. That's why we're really here. So let's talk about the Lady in White. According to reports, the day during the battle, there was a woman that was dressed in white who showed up during the fighting looking for her husband. He was her childhood sweetheart, and they had married while he was on leave. And right before he returned to his unit, they say that she walked among the grave mounds, across the fields, not necessarily this field, but across the field and into the woods. And we could imagine it possibly happened on this field. Imagine her walking amongst the wounded and the dead, looking for her husband, and then just disappearing into the woods. They said that she refused to return to her boarding room. She refused to eat, she refused to leave. And then one day, the body was just gone. She was just gone. No one saw her leave. No one found a body. She was just gone. And to this day, people say they've seen a lady in white, not just at night, sometimes even during the day, walking through the monuments in a flowing white dress, through the monuments, across the fields, into the woods, still to this day looking for her dead husband. And with that being said, people have also seen a Confederate soldier, former Confederate soldier, on horseback, a skeleton in a Confederate uniform on horseback. And some people believe that the lady in white and the Confederate skeleton on horseback are looking for each other, because he roams the field calling out for a woman named Amy. So he's looking for something, and she's looking for something, and people believe they're looking for each other.
Go.
Well, here we are, just below Snodgrass Hill. Snodgrass Hill is a location where thousands of Confederate soldiers died. It's the scene of some of the bloodiest fighting of the battle. But we want to talk about Old Green Eyes. Old Green Eyes has many different legends. There are many different legends to Old Green Eyes, many different stories. If you ask 4 different people what they've seen when they saw Old Green Eyes, you're going to get 4 or 5 different stories. It looks different. It looks different every time someone sees it. People have seen it in the shape of a tiger. They've seen it in the shape of a panther. They've seen it in the shape of just glowing orbs. There are documented cases of people crashing their cars in this battlefield because they were driving and they saw green eyes behind them, following them. But one legend, and there is a claim that in the 1960s, a former employee of the battlefield created green eyes as a hoax. But there's also documented evidence that during the battle, people saw an apparition, not necessarily with green eyes, but going from the wounded and the dead, in and out of the wounded and the dead. Even 13 years after the battle, there's documented evidence of people seeing apparitions on this battlefield. One legend with green eyes is that it's older than the battlefield. It's older than the Cherokees. That it's a guardian of sacred spaces, sacred mounds built by the mound builders, and that it's here to scare people away from sacred places. And that it's an elemental, which, if you don't know, an elemental spirit is a spirit that takes people's energy, that steals the energy from people, steals the life force. So it's possible that green eyes could be a hoax from the 60s, or green eyes could be just glowing orbs. Green eyes could be a tiger or a panther. Or green eyes could be a spirit from before the battlefield, before the Cherokees, back to the mound builders. It's not really for us to say. It's for, because we don't know. We don't know what this spirit is or if it even exists. But there's documented evidence people have seen something.
And y'all, what you're seeing here is the most incredible little hole in the wall gym that we found by just Googling restaurants near me. I don't know if they have any other options available than what's on the plate, but that day we didn't even care. We're going to tell you all about bees at the end of the show. Look at this fried chicken, fried okra, potato salad done right, beans and cornbread. Man, it was a spread.